spark there. So we know we're good. I've gapped the plugs at 38, so I'm getting ready to put them in. But I always like to put some never-sees on the threads. These old shovels and the aluminum heads were prone to strip, especially the earlier models. I think pre-77, I think, 76, 77, had the short reach plugs, and they were easily stripped out. These long reach ones are a little bit better, but still. So we sort of got three different kinds of plugs. We've got our short reach, our long reach, and then our smaller one here in diameter. This one here is for 1952 to 1978 Sportsters. Also, these short reach plugs can be for the 74 models from 1948 up to 1974. Then we switched here to these long reach plugs in the heads, and they went all the way up through till 2000. In 2000, they switched to these smaller ones again with a different size thread in them. So there's three different plugs to deal with, but you can see the difference in the length of these and how easily the short one would be to strip out if it was in that situation. I noticed with even this one that the front one is a little soggier than the back one. So we have to be careful with it. It's not stripped, but it could be easily cross-threaded by somebody or over-torqued. That's the other thing. People torque down these spark plugs and they just crank them. They don't need to be cranked down like that. So the thing has been spuking oil out. So we've been topping it off here. The last thing we want to do is see it run out of oil. But I am curious to see if we have a different problem. So we've pretty well gone through everything. We've checked our timing. We've put a new set of plugs in and gapped them. We know that our fuel is coming down from our carburetor, but our accelerator pump is working. A few prime kicks, and I would think it would go. So, give her a couple shots. Pull this up, and I like to keep the throttle wide open while you kick it through. And by doing that, it allows some of the fuel to move on through into the cylinder inside, instead of being kind of lurking out here. I always try to put all my weight on my left leg. It's gonna be fussy. Okay, we'll check, see if we get any spark there, but I found it hard to hold myself.
Oh, spark. Yep.
Is it blue spark, or is it just barely enough to say it's spark? It's not strong at all.
And there was only one.
Yeah, it's not consistent. That should be.
No.
Huh?
Very weak spark.
Very weak,
Weak and intermittent.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna try let's try the other one.
Well, I had to look to make sure I was putting the right end.
End?
End.
Well, you went to end.
That's that.
Sure.
That's a tongue twister. End.
Or get it up against the cylinder or somewhere. I'm leaning towards the coil there.
Do you have one?
I think so.
Awesome.
I'm gonna have a look. Have a look and see if I got one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna change the coil because
There you go.
Thank you, Queen.
You're welcome.
So we've put my plug wires on that I know are good, and we've checked them, but spark is very, very weak. So we've either got a problem with the coil here or the ignition setup itself. So we'll start with the easiest one first, and we're going to replace this coil and see what kind of spark that gives us. Thank you for your help, ma'am.
You're welcome, sir. You can breathe something all over the seashore, you see?
I do get my hands just dirty in here.
Well, all right.
Well, all right.
I'll leave it.
Goodbye, Queen.
See you later.
Got me working up a sweat. That's going to cost extra. So we've got things sort of where they should be. I think I have a coil that I can put on it and try a new one. There's spark there, but it's so weak, and the electronic system should have a big, fat, beefy spark. So for the time it takes, I'm going to undo the wires, put them on the other coil, and see where we're at. So we're going to start by taking this coil off to see what's going on. I do have a brand new dyno one here that we can try, so just going to start the process of elimination as much as we can before we delve into anything too serious. The dyno ignition system seems, the red indicator light on it seems to be working. The white wire from the dyno ignition system. The 12-volt power wire. The pink wire on the other side. So now just take a second, I think, and get the Queen Pauline here to come and help me out with this so we can see the spark together. Okay, let's try it. It's better than what it was, isn't it?
Yeah.
From my point of view, it looks better than what it was.
It's brighter, stronger.
Brighter blue.
Yeah.
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 I'll just give it a try.
I'm putting your pliers right here.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome, sir.
Well, it appears like we got a little more spark there. I think so. From my position where I was, I could now see the blue spark. Whether it's enough to make a difference, I'm not sure. But at this point, I'm going to leave this coil on here that I know is good, and we can always backtrack as we make sure things are working. If this is working good, then we can change the coil back. Maybe that wasn't the problem. But right now, with the way it stands, I'm going to put some plugs in it and see if I can at least get a popcorn fart out of it, something. All right. Huh.
What's happening?
It just backfired through the carburetor there.
Yeah, I thought I was coming to check on you.
Yeah. Well, nothing good comes easy. The battle continues. Now, we've checked our timing, and we know our timing is where it's supposed to be. It really acts like the timing's not right. Something's not right there. I have gas. I have air. I have new coil, good plug wires, we have spark. but it's just banging, popping at the carburetor. So we got to make a decision as to which way to go, and I'm not quite sure at this point, but I'm leaning towards a problem with the ignition system possibly. For some reason, it's not firing at the right point. Whether the advanced system is not working or what, I've never seen a dyno go bad really, but there's always a first time. It's not single fire, so it's not plug wires crossed, and it might be in the valve train, so perhaps we'll go look at a valve train next and make sure that that's all set properly. And if the valves are set properly, then we'll have to look at the ignition system. All right, we'll take it with us and see what we can figure out. I was afraid of. Got everything else set, our timing is right, got all good stuff on it, should run. We're gonna have to look into it and see what we can find. So we're gonna start by taking the breather off and getting it out of our way. There gives us a tad more room for working at things. Now sometimes when these are stuck here, they're hard to get up. What happens is that there's a small rubber O-ring there. There it is. See this O-ring, and it's seated down into there. Sometimes you gotta take a little blade, just get that started. Otherwise it won't let you push this up out of the way if it jams up, you see. And we need this up to have a look at these. We got a big sort of spring clip affair that we use for this. Take your time, you just want to pry it up. We don't want to cut the rubber. There we go. So with this one down as far as it'll go, it should be loose. And it is really loose. So I would say it looks like we've got some Jim's hydraulic lifters. Well, the push rods are anyway. And if the push rods are, I would expect that the lifters are too. There you go, threads per inch, 32. There we go. That tells me how many turns that I'm supposed to turn these down. So I'm gonna go just check on Jim's specs one more time there, just to make sure that these lifters are what they are, what they appear to be. So what we actually have in here is Jim's tappet number 2459-1, and this is a big axle tappet. It's a power glide hydraulic system. The beauty of these is that they really bring in a difference in the lifter. They have three major working parts that are all improved. The outer wheel roller has 27% greater wall size for better tracking on the cam load. The pin bearing itself is actually increased by 12%, which increases RPM and also helps in better tracking. The axle size that the roller runs on is increased by 36% and doubles as an inner race. So the pin bearing and the complete roller assembly now rotates around the axle instead of the inner race, eliminating possibilities of movement and the axle flying apart in there like you see them come on some of the other earlier models. So this is quite a good lifter. It would just be nice to tear the cam cover off now and see what the situation is in there. So I think I'm going to go along and loosen all the push rods out, take them all out, and at least I'm going to pull a front lifter block so I can look down in there and have a look and see what's going on. So we're going to pull the lifter block and have a look. So we're going to put an elastic band around top of these lifters because they do have a groove in them. This will be enough to hold them so I can get them off. Being cooperative, somebody must have put Loctite on them. There we go. We'll get the cam cover off. Get a little timing cup out in here. This one happens to have an Allen head in them. They can have all sorts of different ones in there. So yeah, now we're down into the nose cone and we're having a look in there. With the Jim's lifters and stuff, everything looks pretty good in there. But as I pulled the timing cover off, I found it curious that when I looked in, I found this timing cover rotor here. And the reason I found it curious is just because most of them, the proper ones in there, are more of a goldy color. And I don't know if you can tell on the video or not, but one is definitely silvery and one is definitely goldy. And when you look at the numbers inside, this number inside is a 32401-80. This is the silver one. This is the one that they've got in there. And in order to run the Dyna 2000i electronic ignition, you need this cup here. And this cup is a 32402-83. So it's a little different in the timing. They look to be pretty close, but there definitely is subtle differences as to where things are. One of the things you can see right off the bat is that the silver cup in the bottom, the cutout is quite small compared to the one in the top. This one also, see the difference in them? And I've got them sort of lined up in the keyways where they would approximately go, but those few degrees moving around are going to make a big difference in your firing. So I expect that that's a big part of the problem. But we are going to pull the nose cone off. I'm so close and I'm curious and I want to make sure that the breather gear is proper because of the over oiling problem. And the only way to do that is to look in there and see. So that's what we're going to do next. Tied a little piece of string between these two to hold them up out of the way. Now we need the big mallet. As we bring the cover out, I'm keeping my thumb over the end of the cam to keep the cam in place because I want to see it in there. I don't want to pull it all out. Let's pull this cover off. It could have broke when we pulled the cover off, but this whole section here is broken out. And this is barely on it, almost halfway off of it. So it doesn't look like this gasket was seated properly in the first place. Perhaps it was underneath it a little bit. There is a little bit of it on there, but I would say that those were broken at both ends. And with any sort of crack or opening in that area, it would have an over-oiling problem. That definitely could have presented a problem. I'm not feeling anything in there too drastic. Now, just got to roll this around very carefully and see where our timing marks are at. I'm almost on that one there, so we're going to try and move it just a little bit without spinning the cams out. Okay. Mark there. That's an Andrew Shovelhead 401 cam. So we're going to have a look at that. See exactly what the 401 is for. And while we're here, we got everything apart. Pull this gear out of here. That had me worried for a second. Thought it was hung up in the grooves in there. Although it is full of oil, that crankcase is full, right up to there. But the breather gear hole is what we're worried about in here. Is one of the things that is a telltale sign for over oiling. Yeah, that's not good. Now what we can see is we've got a groove cut up in here. Groove's cut all the way around in here. Right around, just a little bit in the bottom where it hasn't, but it's worn all the way around. Now you can see that groove that's cut all the way up, and it continues right up around inside to about there on the other side. And that will allow oil to escape and blow by, so to speak, all the way around every revolution. So we're gonna have to cut that out. We do have this Jim's tool that we can use to cut out the breather hole. We've modified it and made this piece on here for another application in the slab side motors. I believe for the cam bearing that has a brass bushing inside. But this is what we can use to fix this. On the engine is always a little bit trickier. So we got a few problems that are starting to rear their ugly head here as we go deeper and deeper. I would be leaning towards, compression is down quite a bit between the cylinders. Definitely rings because of the wet dry, so the rings are a problem there. I would say now we're into this hole here. We also have to deal with a hole on the other side of the case. There's supposed to be threads in there, which are both kind of tricky as to keeping filings out of the case when you're doing them. They can be done, but it does get a little bit tricky. So I'm going to have to call Gus up and let him know where he's at here. Now at this stage of the game, really four or five bolts, we're going to pull that motor out. But it can be a costly venture as it goes, and it can be time consuming. I do have a few commitments here, and I'm a little stretched to do this right this minute. And that thing down below has to be dealt with. So we've got 3 issues that really should have the engine removed. Plus we've got a problem with the ignition system there now, that has the wrong cup in there, which is no big deal, but I'm sure that's the firing problem. The cutout is quite small compared to the one in the top. So we're kind of looking in the points cover here, and I run my hands down in here. I'll do it up top. So definitely got oil coming out past this seal, leaking out by here. I'll have to give him a call and see where he wants to go from here. In the interim, I'm going to look up that cam and see what kind of camshaft we got pulling here, or whether it's applicable for this or that. I know I got S&S flywheels in them, but they're not stroker flywheels, they're 80-inch flywheels, according to the numbers. So all those things combined gives us a better picture of what we're looking at and where to go from here. So, ball is in his court now. So that's about it for today. If you've enjoyed what you've been watching and found it entertaining or educational, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, hit the like button, subscribe, do all those things. We encourage everyone to do that, as that helps our channel to grow, and we are moving onward and upward and feeling good about it. So stick with us. This old shovel, she needs some love, but she's far from being dead yet. Okay, that's it for today.